Hi, my name is Betsy, and today I'll be teaching you how to make your own little piñata, little mini piñata. So what you need is flour, water, glue, a glue stick either, but mostly this, you'll need this for sure, a balloon, scissors, and tissue paper, okay? So it's quite simple. You'll need to start with clean workspace enough, and you'll need either newspaper strips or a magazine. So cut it up into little strips. Make sure to do so beforehand so it's all priced out. The tissue paper, make sure to cut it in advance or else it'll take a while longer. So that's it. Basically you'll need a cup of flour, not much, and then a cup of water, maybe and a half, not much, and then just add glue as you need to so it can create a paste for you, okay? As you can see here, I'm just making a little popsicle triangle in order to make a little stand for the balloon later on, and throughout this whole video I'll be speeding through it because it took me about 2 hours to make the piano, so I just want to show you what I did throughout the whole process. So it's just a quick little, if you don't have popsicle sticks, you could just string it up. It doesn't really matter, that's what I did because I wasn't able to find a spot to hang it up. Okay, so to glue on the piano to make it a hard shell enough to crack, you mix in, well, what I did was mix in half a cup of flour, and then I measured out a cup, but I didn't put a whole cup of water. So you can see here, it's like I added a little bit at a time. I didn't add the flour all the whole way through. I just added a little bit at a time, and then I added glue just to make it more stickier. And as you can see here, I just kept stirring and stirring. It took a while. Don't worry about it. It's like, as you can see, as long as you can see that it's a little bit runny and that it looks, there's no clumps or anything, then it's ready to use. Okay. And then you just stick it, the little magazine strip, that's what I used, stick it onto the balloon as long as it's 1 inch or so or less. And then just start from one side and just keep going round and round. I just did 1 layer. You can do 2, as many layers you want. But in between layers, just wait a bit and then keep adding it. So just wait for it to dry a little bit and then add it again. Or you can wait 24 hours and see how far you've got covered, and you can start all over again and just layer it up again. So there's no spots that are missing. In the end, once everything's covered completely, just set it aside. What I did was made it stand on the little popsicle triangle that I made beforehand, so it wouldn't stick to anything. Okay, so now we have the shell, right? Yeah, you can just see in here it's all covered up. Let's see if I just shake this out. Just popped it out. Make sure that's the balloon. Make sure it's gone. Oh no. What I'll do is go over these spots that I missed first time around. You go back around either with the flour glue, but what I'm gonna do, it's a little more simple than that. It's just gonna be me gluing it. So let's begin. So what I do is first cut up a hole to make it bigger so I can insert some scraps of paper, tear up the little strips of magazine paper that I had left over, enough to cover it, just put a little glue on it. It doesn't really matter. It's just a tiny hole. It's like if you really want to make sure that it's like there's not a big hole, that's not your weak spot area, just add flour and paste all over again. Make that flour water paste and you should be good to go, but just let it dry again for at least 12 hours because that takes a while to dry. Like it might dry in 2 hours because it's just a little spot, but just keep making it bigger as much as you can. But don't cut it completely, just cut it and then fold it back so you can stick your hand in there and fix it up from the inside. And that's all you need to do. As you can see in this little area, I'm showing you how the hole looks inside of it. It's like you can see the lighter areas are the ones that are your weakest spots. It's like you can go over with the flour paste, but since I'm just going in, it doesn't really matter. It's just holding it more tension on that area. It just depends on what you want to do. So just stick the glue inside and outside, just so you know. Since I just glued it on there, it doesn't need that much drying time, so I just started in with the tissue paper. Okay, so here I cut up the tissue paper. I make sure to fold it in half. You don't have to. You really could cut it again and just have a 1 inch strip of tissue paper and just start cutting along it, like a little each bit. But what I like to do is I like to fold it in half and then glue it inside of it so it doesn't come up. And instead of like going across and cutting each and every single part, just the little frame, I fold it so it makes it easier to cut it and make the fringe for the piñata. So along the folded edges, I just cut each part a little bit. I don't cut all the way up, I just cut every bit. You don't have to be precise. I just cut every part that I felt like. It doesn't have to be pretty or not. The fringe will show up uh, on the piñata. So once I finished doing that, I opened it up and then I glued it down so it could stay double so it's not as thin. And then I started to glue it onto the piano. So here you can see I'm fixing the bottom so you don't see anything of the paper mache, the paper. So I just stuck a little piece of tissue paper over it. You can even paint it if you want to, but I just went with tissue paper. Just make sure to flip over the little fringe that you have so you don't glue it on there. Whatever works for you, or you can keep going with the little fringe all the way to the bottom, whatever you would like. Here you can see how I was working my way from the bottom to the top and how I didn't glue it all in one go. I would go little by little so it doesn't make a huge mess. It's easier to just go little by little, cutting up parts that you need. Working your way from the top to the bottom, you would have to make sure to flip the little fringe up in order for it not to stick on top of it so all the fringe shows from every single color. Here you can see how I was doing that. Here we're nearing the end. As you can see, it's just fringing on the bottom. So the top, you can see right there. Here's the finished product. I finished it. And the top is where you can put in the string it up, and put in the candy. You can even cover it up more if you want to. It just depends on what you want to do. So here it is.